Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. In this video, we're just going to do a quick review of velocity banking. And one of the things I really want to emphasize is that if you're presenting velocity banking to somebody who's new, um, you need to sell the hole and not the drill. What do I mean by that? A lot of people get, when they talk about it, they emphasize, oh, this is velocity banking. Oh, lines of credit good, loans are bad, and rather than presenting it in a problem solving manner, right? So I might not even use the term velocity banking to talk about any of this, right? I might just say, hey, let's say you made some decent income, like $80,000 gross a year, which is about 5,700 a month, right? And a lot of people are in debt, right? And so, maybe you have someone who has like six credit cards and a mortgage and other expenses, and after all expenses are paid, we only have $300 a month, right? How can you help this person? Okay? How can you help this person? There's two rules to the game. You can't make more money, right? So you can't make more money, so 5,700, and you can borrow as much money as you want, right? And so some people they look at that and they're like, "What?" Right? Like this guy needs to make more money because he only has $300 in savings because he's so much in debt. And if you borrow more money, then this is going to be a negative number, right? And whoops, I put $57,000 here, 5,700. Okay. And here's the other crazy thing too. Most people tell them if you have, you're gonna have $0 in savings, then they'll like freak out too. So same income, no savings, and you could borrow a limited amount of money seems like a recipe for disaster, right? And this is essentially what, I wouldn't say this is what velocity banking is, but this is essentially what velocity banking is. So what I would do is just try to present to the other person, hey, how can you help this person with these two rules? These are the rules of the game, right? And most people couldn't figure it out. And then you could just present to them a solution. Now, I'm not saying this is the ultimate solution, but velocity banking can help this person. And what is velocity banking? All it is a simple debt payoff strategy using the lines of credit as the main tool. Okay, so let's just assume. So again, same income. We're gonna borrow a limited amount of money. Let's do this. Let's assume that we have $200,000 line of credit available to us, right? I know it's not realistic for a lot of people, but we're just playing this game right now. And really, the best way to be able to borrow money is actually get it before you ever need it, right? Because that's how banks lend. They don't ever lend to you when you need it. They lend to you when you don't need the money, right? And then their hope is when you lend them, they lend you the money. Again, whether it's credit cards, loans, or whatever, you get to a point where you're just making minimum payments over time on everything, and then you're paycheck to paycheck, which is what's happening to here, right? Don't pay off anything early. All right, so let's just assume you have a $200,000 line of credit and maybe a home equity line of credit at 10%. And if you don't know what a home equity line of credit is, first let's discuss what a line of credit is. A line of credit is a tool where you could borrow money, pay it back, and use it over and over again. Isn't that what a credit card is? Right? So you could use a home equity line of credit, get a big credit amount, think of it as a credit card based on your home, and you could pay for anything on it, right? Anything. Loans, credit cards, you can even pay the bill for the home equity line of credit itself if you just borrow and pay it back again. That's robbing Peter, pay Peter, right? So let's just assume that you're able to get $200,000 again, but this is going to be dependent on a person's personal situation. Okay, now let's go ahead and re-engineer our expenses, right? And we're going to copy these figures. Okay, so now let's go ahead and copy this and then calculate our cash flow, which is C2 minus C3. Okay, and if you don't know the basic strategy, is you're just going to put your entire paycheck into the line of credit and use it as your main operating account and take your expenses out of it and rinse and repeat over and over again, right? So the only difference between the average American and someone who does velocity banking is the average American uses their checking account to pay for stuff, whereas someone who does velocity banking, they use their line of credit to pay for stuff. Okay, so that's really the only difference. And now let's go ahead and do a simple debt transfer and see how it can significantly increase our cash flow. So if we have $87,000 of credit card debt, so this is going to be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Why? Because we're going to transfer this entire credit card debt to the line of credit, and this is going to be 87,000. Okay, and now take a look at this. We went from $300 of savings to $3,000 of cash flow. Same income, we can borrow a limited amount of money. right? And so to the average person, they can't understand this concept because they're stuck here where if they did borrow money, this would be a negative, right? And they'll always say, "Oh, I need to make more income," right? And so what we're going to do is just pay this off using our cash flow. Again, just doing quick formulas here. And if you don't see, you know, if you don't understand it, just pause this video and then copy and write down the formulas. But I'm going to go ahead and get the next month's balance, which is the previous month's balance plus the previous month's interest minus our cash flow. And our cash flow just multiplied, right, from $300 of itty bitty savings a month to $3,000. Okay, and now what we're going to do is just pay it off using the power of our cash flow, and we're going to calculate the interest, which is by the average daily balance multiplied by the interest rate and divided by 12. Okay, so now let's go ahead and copy and paste this, and then if it's paid off, you're going to see a red, right? So this is when it's paid off right here. So at this stage, we could write this as a milestone where we paid off $87,000 of debt in 34 months, so a little bit over a year, I think. All right, so now let's go ahead and write this as a milestone, and then this is going to be 87K paid off in 34 months, right? I think it's 34. Let me confirm one more time. I hope I'm not making you all dizzy by moving too fast. 34. Okay, so 34 months, right? So we paid these 6 credit cards off in 34 months, okay? Now the last thing that we need to do is pay off the mortgage, right? And so at 34 months, if you want to figure out the mortgage balance is, it's actually $192,000 because I kind of cheated. I actually recorded this video on OBS, but OBS screwed up and said error encoding. So I'm doing it the second time right now. So if we take a look at this amortization calculator, right, you can just kind of get the loan amount, loan term, and see. Here's one thing I always want to mention is that if you have a 6% 30-year mortgage, you're at the end of 30 years, if you just pay according to the bank schedule, that's $231,000 of interest, right? And so isn't that insane? A lot of people don't realize that because they just see the low monthly payment. All right, so now let's go ahead and see what the balance is at 34 months. So I think I should have highlighted this somewhere. 34 months, yeah. So this is where we get the figure. We just copy it in, and we know at 34 months, yeah. If we don't make extra payments to the mortgage, and we just pay in 30 years, guess what? We have to pay all this interest, right? So at this point, we have to decide, right? Do we really want to do velocity banking, which is using our line of credit as our main tool, or do we want to just put our entire savings into the mortgage, right? And both are perfectly valid. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to put my savings into the mortgage because if I do, yes, it'll significantly pay off the mortgage faster, but you can't get that money back like you would with the line of credit. Now, here's the other thing too. Well, some people might say, why don't you just put that money directly into the loan and then use your line of credit as a backup? You could do that. That's perfectly valid because you have all this credit available to you. Okay, you have $87,000 of credit cards and this $200,000 line of credit available to you. So why not just do that? So again, at this point, it's not going to be a big deal. But I want you to understand where we were before. We were at a place where we had a good pay, and then we're making minimum payments towards one, two, three, four, five, six credit cards, a mortgage. You might even have several loans and a 401k, right? One of the reasons why people who make good money are broke is because of something called segregation of income, which means that their money is split all over the place, right? And one of the benefits of velocity banking is that you just put your money in one place and you prevent the segregation of income, right? And so let's say you put your entire $3,000 paycheck into the mortgage and then you have like one of the credit cards as a backup. Guess what? Now you split your money into two places, and then once you do start that might create a snowball effect. Now I'm not saying it's going to 100%, But this is the way that I think of it. If you're going to do it the banking, the average American style, one of the things that you want to be concerned about is that segregation of income effect because it's way too easy to get into, right? Like, if I don't park my money in one place, it's very, it's much easier to be involved in that behavior, similar to how if I live in a neighborhood with 10 fast food restaurants and the nearest Whole Foods is 2 hours away, I'm probably not going to go to Whole Foods and eat healthier, right? It's the same thing. Now, here's the thing: if you're disciplined and you live in a neighborhood with 10 fast food restaurants and you can go to Whole Foods, even though it's 2 hours away, more power to you. I'm not going to say that doesn't work. I'm just saying for me, that's my mentality as to why I might still do that at this stage, even though putting your entire savings into the mortgage works. Okay, so let's just go ahead and look at this velocity banking calculator. So this is provided by Renatus because I'm a Renatus student. Where I actually first learned velocity banking from. And the other thing too is that I'm actually, just kind of full disclosure, I actually make money selling Renatus products. So I'm an independent contracted marketer. So if you ever enroll, I through at least through me, I'll make some money. And then what else? I'm trying to see if there's any other legal disclaimer I should say from my head. But yeah, so again, if you ever enroll, you'll get the spreadsheet for free in addition, with registering for courses that are financial literacy and real estate investing related. Now, I've pre-put some of the information. Now, at this stage, what you would do is just move parts of the mortgage into the line of credit and not the entire thing. Now, why not the entire thing? Let me just show you this. So let's say I get like a 10% line of credit, and we can do this because we have a $200,000 line of credit, so 19264 and I move the entire mortgage into the line of credit. Yes, the payoff is only 4.9 years, and 52,000 compared to 198,000 is extremely good. But what if I just did this? I do $10,000, right? Instead of moving the entire thing paid off into the line of credit, at a 10% line of credit, let's just do $10,000. Look at this, the payoff's even faster and the interest is cut in half, right? So don't just kind of succumb to the thinking, oh, loans bad, line of credit good. There's an appropriate place, an appropriate time for the right tool, right? And this also depends on the interest rate as well. So, for example, if I just do even $5,000 chunks or chunks similar to my income, let's do 5,700. Okay, you'll notice that the interest is almost pretty much the same, right? The other thing too is, let's say I do 30% interest, so I'm using a credit card, right? Yes, the interest rate does matter, but it's not significantly not to the significant degree. So if you have a credit card that has extreme like points system or rewards point system, and you're using it for a velocity banking, and maybe you're using a service like Plastique or something like that, you'll probably even end up better than this situation. I don't know for sure because I don't know your personal situation, but let's say you have a 30% at $10,000, you kind of see that there these two situations are very similar, right? So the interest rate does matter. Uh, Chunks at the lower level are mostly the same, right? You might have to pay higher interest, but they're mostly the same. But when you put the entire thing into that line of credit and it doesn't free up a significant amount of cash flow, you'll see that the interest is actually much higher. Because think about this: would you pay $192,000 to get $1,200 back? Right? Probably not. And that's why we have to actually look at the numbers and understand the pros and cons of doing velocity banking at this stage. Okay, so let's go ahead right here and let's say we just do $10,000 chunks. Okay, so now it's 4.4 years. So what we're going to do is 34 months plus 4.4 years. So 34 plus divide by 12 plus 4.4, which is 7.23 years. And 7.23 years and 287K. Whoa! Yeah, all right. So we're done, right? So we helped this person. rules of the game. Same income, and you could borrow a limited amount of money, which we did. And now at this stage, if we're, you know, we're debt free, so we could maybe even still borrow a little bit of more money, buy some houses, do some investing, right? Real estate investing, and then just use that because we have a $200,000 home equity line of credit. Okay, well, this is Korean Atlanta Mentorship. If you're interested in joining a group, go ahead and click the Google form link below. Other than that, have a great day, and we'll speak next time.